was caused by an H1N1 virus with genes of avian origin. There's no universal consensus regarding where the virus originated, but it was detected in army camps first in the United States. It spread worldwide during 1918 and 1919, and in a little bit, we're going to talk about how it spread in waves. And people were everywhere due to the war, and much like now with COVID-19, which is what allowed the virus to spread as fast as it did.
If anybody wants to jump in with questions, either after each slide or after the whole presentation, don't hesitate to.
So basically, there was a lot of questions about where the virus originated. Some said it originated in North America, and even went as far as pinpointing certain towns, like there was somewhere in Kentucky. And people also thought it might have originated in New York, but later it was found that it didn't originate from a certain place, and that that was true because the virus existed previously, but it was just the resurgence in 1915.
I think I also read that the irony of it is that the young people, between 20 and 60, had very strong immune systems. So the deaths were actually caused by the overreaction of their immune systems. Their immune systems responded so vigorously that that's what killed them. When you get sick, it's often you feel bad because the anti-immune forces are so strong, they take over your body and overreact. So anyway, that's one other aspect of why so many young people died. The people with weaker immune systems didn't get that vigorous response, so they were therefore held with less consequences. I hope that makes sense.
There are 4 types of influenza viruses, A, B, C, and D, and in a little bit, Cole's going to tell you about A, B, because those are the ones we're going to focus on. The influenza A viruses are divided into subtypes based on 2 proteins on the surface of the virus, hemagglutinin and neuraminidase, H and N respectively. There are 18 different hemagglutinin subtypes and 11 different neuraminidase subtypes. So there should be a total of 198 possible viruses. However, only 131 have been discovered in nature. H1N1 in more recent history was known as the swine flu, and it was a slightly different strain in 2009 than the one in 1918 because it originated in pigs rather than birds. The first wave occurred in the spring of 1918 and was generally mild. The sick who experienced such typical flu symptoms as chills, fever, and fatigue usually recovered after several days, and the number of reported deaths was low, so the reaction by the public was not super exaggerated at this point.
During the second wave, it was really highly contagious, and this was the worst wave. So people would die within hours or even days of developing symptoms, and their skin even turned blue, and their lungs would fill with fluid, and then they would suffocate. And it dropped the life expectancy by I think 11 or 12 years. Well, there was a lot of vaccine attempts that were made, such as from the B influenza and strains of pneumococcus, streptococcus, staphylococcus, and micrococcus catarrhalis, as well as streptococcus hemolyticus. They didn't work super well, but they did help prevent it in some people.
And because so little was known about the disease itself, the suffix coccus means that these were bacteria that were being tried as vaccines. And so that was very weird because the disease itself was a virus, but they tried with bacteria as well. Another weird thing is that they weren't really sure if it was an influenza or tuberculosis, which despite being more deadly, having worse symptoms, because it's a bacteria, it doesn't spread as fast. So here's a graph showing the effects in Philadelphia and St. Louis. And the big spike that you see is directly after a massive parade that was held in Philadelphia. And because there was so much contact between people, the toll of like the death rate became so much more, whereas in St. Louis there was a lot more control of population, keeping people inside, quarantining. And so basically what we're trying to say is social distancing worked.
So many people were infected. People had to make a lot of stuff they were using. They're like millions and millions of people got the disease. Like it said, I think half the or a third of the world's population was infected. So it was really overwhelming.